Welcome to the Multifamily Zone, where business meets family. We explore what the entrepreneur life looks like from the family perspective. Now here are your hosts, Julia and Gino Barbaro.
Hey everyone, this is Julia Barbaro, host of the Multifamily Zone podcast. I'm here with the co-founder of Jake and Gino, my husband and co-host, Gino Barbaro. Hey, Gino.
Hey, Joel. How you doing?
I'm good.
We've got two great guests today. Let me get to the
Yes.
guests. Let me read the bio because they've been in business for a while. This is exciting. They are, I would say, a power couple in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So Mark and Tamiel Kenney are seasoned real estate investors and the founders of Think Multifamily, a leading multifamily acquisition and education company that prides itself on a family-oriented approach to business. They started their real estate career over 25 years ago and have a passion for helping others succeed in the multifamily arena. They've built a dynamic organization that provides both educational resources and investing opportunities to meet every investor's needs at each stage of their investing journey. Mark and Tamiel have invested in over 6,500 units. Wow, apartment units. That's a lot. Providing clients with the risk opportunity to invest with confidence through syndication at a reduced risk and steady returns. The do at the heart of Think Multifamily stand firmly behind a business model promoting integrity, authenticity, family values, and servant leadership. Those are some core values, guys. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks guys. Really good to hear from you guys.
Wow. So, I see the name Mark and I get a little nervous because my brother's name is Mark. So I'm having like PTSD. I'm like, oh no, not Mark. I speak to him like 15 times a day, but 6,500 units. Why don't you tell the listeners how you got started? I mean, I know your story. You've got a great story. So how did you guys get started in multifamily?
I'll go and Tamiel can jump in here. So we're in Dallas now. I grew up in Michigan, one of 7 kids. So I know you guys have a big family, but one of 7 kids. Identical twin brother named Michael. And we were seniors in college. And we didn't grow up with a lot. We had, food and place to live, which is more than a lot of people in the world for sure. But we didn't really have any extras. So we're like, man, there has to be a better way than what everyone else is doing. And we both liked real estate for whatever reason. I don't know. We didn't have anybody in our family or anyone doing it. And we started looking at kind of 2 to 4 units when we were 21 years old, and made an offer. And my dad talked me out of we actually got an offer accepted, and my dad talked me out of it, which is another story, but they're very disappointing. And we just started buying smaller properties, 2 to 4. Didn't know what syndication was, about raising money from other people. We were doing it on our own. And we owned, I guess, just like 17 units, not a lot. But we were also working like 60, 70, and then kind of became they became more and more hours. They became, 90, 100-hour weeks. You probably know from the restaurant business. But we were doing IT consulting, CPAs. And then in 2013, I had a IT business. I was doing well. I started in 2008, doing pretty well financially anyways. But I was working, to Tamiel's point, 90 hours probably pretty light week. Reality, slept about 3 hours a night, and for some reason it caused some problems between Tamiel and me for some reason, because I was never there. And so she's like, kind of, you have to do something different or things aren't going to really work out. And I could have said, well, okay, well, this is why my dad worked a lot, so I work a lot, just deal with it. But we decided to actually make it work, and I said, you're gonna have to help me, which she has done a phenomenal job doing that. And we started looking at syndication in 2013 and invested initially passively with a friend of ours that was doing a syndication. And we're like, hey, this makes a lot of sense. Let's go ahead and try to do this ourselves. And that's what we started doing.
So I have to say, honestly, I don't think I've really worked 90, 95-hour weeks. I've worked a lot. That's a lot of stress on the relationship, right? That's like basically like lawyer hours, and that's like soul sucking. That's really a lot of time, right?
Yeah, I literally slept about 3 hours a night, 7 days a week.
It's not healthy.
No, it's it's not.
So why did you do that though? What compelled you to do something like that?
Good question. Probably, if I'm frank, it was money for one, no question about it. But 2, I definitely got my self-worth out of being an IT consultant. Tell people, I'm not great at a lot of things. A couple of things I'm good at, and I was, for whatever reason, good at that particular software, and had a lot of projects all over the world, and never turned the project down, because you never know when it's going to be your last project. So any project I would do.
So Tamiel, how did you feel? Did you think about real estate as the scapegoat, and what were you doing at this point? Were you working out of the house? Were you staying at home? What did your life look like?
Well, we've been married 25 years this month.
Nice.
So it's a long history. So I started off doing physical therapy assistant. That was the first education my husband gave me when we got married.
Mm-hmm.
Then I became a registered nurse. And then shortly after graduating and starting my first job, we got pregnant with my first son.
We didn't get pregnant. She got pregnant.
We needed a little help.
effort.
That's right. We needed a little help getting pregnant with him, but it took the first time. So I became a stay-at-home mom at that point.
Mhm.
And then we adopted our daughter 3 years later.
Wow.
And our marriage had been strained really off and on that whole time, but we didn't know how strained it was really until after, I guess, we got our daughter. And multiple reasons, right? His work hours continued to increase. Our lack of communication continued to increase.
Sure.
Neither one of us knew how to communicate well,
Mhm.
specifically with each other.
Sure.
And at that time, we were also taking in young unmarried girls who were giving their babies up for adoption.
Wow.
So I had to deal with their stress in addition to my own stress, and it kind of just blew stuff up.
And I was
that
traveling
point.
a bit at the
Okay.
time too.
That's right.
So
Mark, you had said before that you had to make it work. What changed in your relationship that you had that success in working together and where you are now?
well, we didn't work together before in
Well, you were
occupation
married.
wise.
I feel like
Right, well,
people forget
yeah,
that when we're married,
no,
that you are,
for sure.
you know.
And we didn't work very well together either, marriage either at the time. We do now. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Once you
now,
figure
really
it
is.
out, yeah. Once you figure
Right.
it out, it's like, okay, we could do it.
20 some years later.
Sure.
But
That's okay. That's okay.
yeah.
Some of us are a little slow. Some of us are slow. than others,
we have
right?
our stories too. You know. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think part of it was, I mean, reality is it was, I don't know how long ago, 5 years ago. And Tamiel was like, hey, she's looking at getting an apartment, moving out. So pretty rude awakening.
Mhm.
You know, frankly, in my head, I'm probably kind of going, you know, what, you know,
Yeah.
like why? But I did a fair bit of stuff with the kids at the time, and I was making good money and things like that. Those were the things that I thought were important. Reality. I think a lot of it came down to one. I had to do something. You know, my why was big enough to say, okay, I'm going to have to do something from a career standpoint. I was very nervous and scared about it because I was pretty decent at my IT job. You know, I just was. For whatever reason, I was wired that way. So a lot of my self-worth came from there. So that was a big thing for me, but it was a big enough reason. I didn't want, you know, thinking about our kids going through a divorce, and I know a lot of people go through it and, you know, okay, but I definitely did not want our kids to go through that. I mean, it broke my heart to even think about it. So that was a big enough why. And then I think the end of the day too, it was really understanding what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, and I'll admit things I'm not good at and things I don't like. And a lot of things that Tamiel was good at, I undervalued. I'm like, well, I'm the one out going, I'm finding deals, I'm raising money, I'm doing transactions, and yeah, you're good at the marketing, you're good at, you know, all the things that I downplayed, frankly, and didn't respect. So that was a big thing, is to be able to say, okay, Tamiel's good at that. The business doesn't exist well without any of those things. It doesn't exist to this level without those things. And I'll let her, which is hard, right? Sometimes she can make decisions in the areas that she's over, and then I make decisions in the areas I'm over, and we've kind of agreed to that. We kind of have a thing now too, where she doesn't ask me where I spend my money, and I don't ask where she spends her money. That was something that just came up. I'm like, how much? What? Are you kidding me? She's like, I don't ask you. So anyways, but it's basically in your lane, right? And understanding that, hey, for event stuff, Tamiel can make the decisions. I can disagree with her, and I can make, you know, suggestions, but end of the day, it's her gig. So taking the control away from myself, frankly, was a big thing for me.
That's a big deal.
What has changed in the last 5 years since you started working? Like in the beginning, you said stay in your lane, but how did you make it work? Because coming from a rocky relationship and then all of a sudden wanting to work, you're talking 24/7 about business now, you know, and you're there all the
I want to
time,
know
right?
how it is now.
As opposed to like, I'm at home all the time now. My kids, when I leave and go away for the day for the office, it's like I've been away for 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So you're constantly intertwined. And I like that because I want to be around the family all day. Some people don't like that. So how is that shift for you? Because you're working 90 hours out of the week. Now you're working intimately all the time. So what was that? What did that shift look like?
For me, it was much better. We had stuff to talk about. And now we run across, someone just asked me the other day, I'm saying, it's okay if you want to talk to your spouse. You know, some people say we're going to go out to dinner. We're not going to talk about the kids, not going to talk about work. Well, we like talking about work, and what's wrong with that, right? As long as we both want to do it. If one doesn't want to do it, then I understand that, but it's different. we were homeschooling at the time. I know you guys homeschool as well. We were homeschooling at the time when we started Think Multifamily. It was rough. Kids were running in the room when we're on phone calls, and you basically telling them to get out of the room, keep quiet, putting signs on the door. So it was harder at first, but as far as Tamiel and me, I think our relationship definitely got much, much closer because we had a common goal and we both understood that goal and we both understood the business. Or before in IT, I did pretty well financially overall, but Tamiel wasn't involved at all. Didn't understand it. Didn't understand if I have a deadline why I'm working so much.
Sure.
Now she works more than I do. So I'm telling him I work less and you can work more. So
Tamiel, it sounds like once you started doing something together, actually working in a business together, your relationship also developed in a sense. Would you agree with that?
It did. And I think it became better because I became better in myself. My confidence grew. The more I started like, oh, really? You don't know how to do this? And I do? Like, wow, I'm actually smart. So I'm not like this dumb female that I kind of always thought I was. So the more of the business that I understood, the more control that I'm given, the more confident I'm able to be. And I think with any relationship, the more comfortable you are with yourself, the better you're going to be able to relate to other people.
Yeah, I felt that earlier on for a number of years, I felt Tamiel kind of turned to me for her kind of self-worth, right? And there's certain things she wanted to do, or hey, we don't have stuff in common, or she wants to do something, I don't want to do it. So this was the common thing. We always liked it. I mean, we got Tamiel was 20 when we got married, so we bought our first place right pretty much when we got married. Right before that, and bought several others together. So we always were in it together, but it was much different back then. It wasn't a business. It was a side thing that actually was a pain in the butt because I worked at that time probably 80 hours a week at KPMG consulting and come back and try to evict people and rent apartments and all that stuff like that. So it was not a fun experience. And that caused stress, even though it was real estate related. We had a common somewhat goal. It was just different. It was something extra that we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have proper management companies or anything. And it was a stress early on.
I think everyone needs to understand the reason why they made it work is because they both took responsibility. Tamiel could have come on and said that Mark is a terrible communicator. She actually said that we are terrible communicators. It wasn't just Mark. And I mean, you hear a lot of couples say it's his fault or it's her fault. Right. And that's not the case because it takes two. I mean, when you get into a bad partnership, especially a business partnership, you have to have your core values. You've got your core values worked out. Most people get into a partnership, they're just winging it. They don't understand it's a long-term commitment. And even if your partner's a crook and he does a lot of things or she does a lot of wrong things, you're also responsible because you're part of that relationship. I mean, when I had my first deal, I still blame the guy. But I went into that business not knowing, not doing due diligence, not getting some, not knowing, not being educated. So that's, I think, one of the reasons why I see people are successful, that really taking that responsibility is really important. Can you give us, the listeners, just some tips on how to make it work between spouses? I think responsibility, and that's the key, having an open conversation. We also know staying in your lane. That's obvious. What else has worked for you guys?
I think another key point, not just from a business standpoint, but also from a personal standpoint, we went through marriage counseling, and I would say, I'm not sure we'd be married today, in reality, but we were both open to it. I mean, I was kind of the one actually more proactive as far as, setting it up. So a lot of guys aren't. I would just say, be open to it. What's the worst thing that happened? You're just as bad as you were before. For us, it was life changing. We found a phenomenal counselor, but it was a third party independent person. We both sitting there, agreeing with every single thing she was saying. Really were. We weren't like, that doesn't happen. We were very open in my mind. And in business, even now, there are certain times where we do disagree on certain things, but we have people in our group. We also have an attorney who's my best friend. I've known him for 11 years. We'll say, well, let's go ask, for in this case, Dugan Kelly. Well, go ask Dugan what he thinks, or go ask Brent what they think. Or a
business coach that we have to kind of bounce things off.
And being versus saying, well, I just know this way I'm going to do it. I've been overruled several times before. And reality is I'm glad because it's actually helped Tamiel get more people helping her. Before I was kind of against that. But it's helped her, I'd say, less stress. She's still busy, but less stress for sure than before. So have an open mind, not thinking you know it all. End of the day, and for whatever reason, a lot of guys, especially if they start becoming a little successful in anything, right? arrogant, big head, you get knocked down in 1 second. So don't think you're all that, because at the end of the day, something can happen in your life and all this stuff is meaningless. Family, like you guys, we love seeing you guys at your event. I mean, with your kids and stuff like that. I mean, it's just the whole idea of having your kids involved and why you're doing it and
So
helping
true.
other people, like you guys help other people, is way more important than me helping myself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because the whole business, once I started paying attention to Gino's business, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just like running a family. It's the same thing. You have to be on the same team as far as a partnership in marriage, but also running the house, running the children. Everything is a team effort. And that's how do we make it work? And it's so interesting to watch my husband with his team now with Josh and all the guys, because it's so interesting. It's one big family. And so did you, growing up with the kids, did you incorporate them in the business at all, or how did you raise them?
Yeah. So with our events, since we started doing those, our kids will come to the events, learn to network with the investors.
Nice.
Even
How old are they? How old are the kids?
They're 15 and 12 now.
Nice. Okay.
So our son was more of the one who wanted to kind of stand next to us and listen and learn to network. And my daughter was like, give me something to do. She was the one behind the registration desk, handing out badges and super personable that way. She was also the one who was a little bit more free spoken on the stage. Like, give me a mic. Tell me what you want me to do. Can I dance for everybody? We're like, not this time, baby. Let's just say your introduction. And it's been interesting to watch our son kind of come out of his shell a little bit and watch some of his nervous tendencies go away.
Definitely.
And now that he's in high school and he's trying to figure out what he wants to do, it's really interesting to see how all that's playing out.
Yeah, and I think too, it's just one of those things where we've been through a lot. I'm sure, you guys been through a lot, whether it's from business, real estate or your restaurants, whatever it may be. And our son's like, he always asks me, how are you so calm all the time? And believe it or not, all the time, but from his perspective, we have stuff going on. I mean, stuff that's very, very stressful. But at the end of the day, we always get through it one way or another. And for him to see, we've always been very, very conservative in everything, as far as anything we buy. And we've been able to buy a couple of things that we actually want and not just need. So he's seeing that as well. Kind of, it's okay to buy some stuff that you want, not just need, within reason. And our daughter is, to Tamiel's point, very social, things like that. She acts like she's not as interested in the actual numbers and things like that, which she's actually not. Our son
only 12, so she has
12,
time.
So our son's very much more like into a little more of the detail. He's kind of more engineer minded. We tell them they would make a phenomenal business partner.
Yes.
I mean, they are phenomenal
absolutely.
together.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's good with the couples too, because just the two of you, and with Gino and I, I don't do the real estate part, but somehow we're working together. And that's the message I want to tell everyone, because a lot of women out there are not interested in the real estate part, but there's so many other parts to be needed,
Right.
And that's important for the kids to see that as well.
Yeah. Sure. Well, we tell some of our couples who come to our events or part of our program that if the wife is the one who's not as interested, if you can even get her to come to one of the events, if she just shows up next to your side and listens, she doesn't have to be knowledgeable about the business.
Right.
For anybody stepping into an environment that you're not used to, if they're speaking a lingo that you're not used to, it's uncomfortable. So if you just make the first step and just show up,
right. And
that really is all you need. That's right. And like learning any new language, real estate is a different language, right? The more conversations you listen to, you're going to pick up a new word or a new term, and you're going to eventually be able to get yourself involved in a conversation.
Exactly.
So we weren't comfortable necessarily going and networking when we first got into this. We used to kind of like make each other go to a networking event. And then when we were there, we're like, okay, now you go talk to that person. And once we got to that person, well, what do we say?
Yeah.
Right. So it really is a progression. You don't have to know it all. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. There's probably a problem if you're the smartest person in the room.
Right.
Go in and network and just ask people questions about their life. This really is a personable relationship business, and people want to get to know you, not necessarily how much you know.
I think the other thing that you can do with couples is with me and my wife, I always told her I wanted to become financially free. And she didn't understand what that meant. To me, it just meant, okay, if I got to pay 15 grand for the dentist this month, it's not a bad thing. I can pay that, right? It's not to buy cars. So, or if I want to have somebody come down and visit us, I can write that check. That's what I really desired. And for her, she didn't understand that concept. So maybe everybody out there, paint a picture for your spouse, what that looks like, what real estate can do for you. And she enlightened me on that. She's like, I don't really know what money, I don't really care about money. It wasn't her care or her concern. But for me, that was it 24/7. I'm not going out and giving 60 or 70 hours a week to a business just because I like it, especially when you're not, now it's a different story because now I love what I'm doing. But in the beginning, we're in their grind, we're in the rat race. So you're doing 80 hours a week. Maybe that's a little bit of ego, right? It obviously is because I can dive into the way you grew up. You had like little like I did. Probably my parents were immigrants, and that I was drilled into, like, you got to work, you got to make money, you got to save, you got to invest. But that after a while, it just falters. How did you get out of that mindset though, of just getting out of that grind and saying, I want to help others also? Because there's a component to it, because we get a bad rap as educators saying you're only doing it for the money. And yeah, obviously
it sounds like you guys are really helping other people.
Yeah, you want to monetize,
so
right?
I want to know about that.
But at the same time, like, you have to monetize because you've got to pay bills. It's a business, and you've got to get paid for your time because you've got a lot of battle scars and you've paid others and you're continuing to pay others like us. So what was that shift from saying, all right, I'm going to stop working 80 hours a week, to I'm going to start doing investing, and then to, oh, wow, this is really cool, I want to help others? How did that look?
Yeah, I mean, for us, you're in the educational business too. And, we have some personal experiences on some, different groups and things like that, different groups we've been involved in. And there was a lot of things that we felt personally like, hey, there are some things being done here that are more, not really for the benefit of the group in our opinion. They're more self-serving, things like that. So when we started doing a little more kind of the free webinars, and then people were like, oh, you should do a meetup, I had no intentions 5 years ago whatsoever, like zero, to do any coaching. What we're going to call it, zero.
Yeah, we were just looking forward to the freedom that being an apartment investor was bringing us, right? Less hours and all that. We would have been on easy street if we were just being passive investors in apartments.
And then people started coming to us a little bit saying, okay, well, can you help me? And we had a couple people in the group that before we had a group. And then I looked at it from the standpoint of really, I mean, in all sincerity, how it changed our life. I mean, forever, and our kids' lives forever, for the better. And I never know who the next guy or gal is going to be, me, that needs the help. And I wish it was 100% of the people would actually achieve what we've achieved. It's just not reality, unfortunately. There's certain reasons for that and things that come up. But if we can start changing people one at a time, and then also build the community aspect, which I had zero interest in. I was like, go do transactions. I was a CPA and an IT guy. I don't really care. I'd go to projects, didn't care about anything other than fixing problems. To me, it was always like, hey, it needs to be community. You need to build all these things. We do a cruise together, things like that, right? And now all our friends, in fact, we're going on a small little yacht type thing with 3 other couples from our group. So to 4 couples only. We went out with like 20 people last weekend from our group. So all our friends are from the group now. But when we started seeing that, hey, we actually can help people and other people start changing their life. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen overnight. That's the key. It didn't happen overnight for us. But once you start getting momentum, I'm like, you guys, right? It's like, it gets kind of crazy in a way. You're like, oh my goodness, and then you start looking to say, okay, well, now you can have, more things, or you can have more time. And we want someone to come clean the house. Frankly, I never would have done that before, because it's like, we can clean the house. Well, you know what? I don't have time for it. I don't want to do it. So we have someone, it's okay to have someone come in. People can say, well, you could use that money to do. I understand that too, but it's something, I want to be able to do. So other people that are in a situation where either they're having problems with their spouse or they don't have time working jobs, or their kids, and then even if you were able to get the same position you are, my IT. So I didn't think I was going to replace my IT income. Like, I truly would tell you, I was not going to replace my IT income. That's why my mind was telling me before I started. But I said, I don't need to. Even if I make half what I was making, it's still a really good lifestyle. We can still do things. So that was my mindset. The family aspect of it, kids having, a dad, Tamiel having a husband, was more important to me than the other aspects. So you might have to sacrifice some things initially to get that. but what are you getting in return? That's the biggest thing. So we're not perfect, but I can tell you we definitely listen to people and we make changes and adjustments all the time in our business, all the time.
I love that. Let's just take a quick time out to hear from our sponsors.
Gino, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. I know that you've been hard at work helping Jake and Gino students do just that using our framework. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
Guys, we've been hard at work growing our community of like-minded investors, and the results of our members has been nothing short of incredible. We're looking to grow this amazing group. What we're looking for is those who want to follow our proprietary framework that we've created. Buy right, manage right, and finance right. Leverage our connections, education, and mentorship as ways to take your business to the next level.
So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become a part of our amazing community, apply to work with us at jakeandgino.com/apply.
There's been a lot. I don't even know where to start, where to begin, where to end. What I'd like to know is that shift that you made and now you're helping others. It's important that people pay for the education, right? Mark and Tamiel, when people pay for something, I think they value it. And that's one of the things about the education where you'd love to help everybody. And that's part of the aspect. We can't help everybody. But isn't those emails you get from people that you help, isn't that like worth more than money? I mean, at the end of the day, I get them all the time. We got our first deal. I mean, our students have closed over 5,000 units, and I've only been doing this for a couple of years. So the sky's the, and you change, like you say, you change one person though, but you're changing that person's family and families and families and families. Right. And you had a lot of limiting beliefs going into it. How can you say that going into it that you wouldn't be able to replace your income from your current job, from your IT job? Where did that idea come from?
Dude, I don't know. I think it was probably, I made pretty good money doing my IT business. And just looking at, the fact I would have probably thought, hey, we do a deal a year, whatever the number is, maybe two, to doing, whatever, 20 deals a year, whatever the number is. That's a lot, right? So I think it was also a thing where I didn't really want to say, like, and people say sometimes, write your goals down. You should all do that. Everyone teaches that. I never really wanted to do that. I kind of was like, just go out and do it. I think really, if I'm, honest with myself, I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to fail.
Yes.
To say we're going to do this and then I don't do it.
Sure.
So I think that's really the driver. But for me, I guess I just figured I didn't really see anyone else doing, even the guy that we were involved in, he wasn't making as much money as I was doing IT yet. So it was I didn't really have a model, a role model, if you want to say, or anyone I could look to say, hey, this person's making X, dollars and doing what I want to do. Sure, the people in the world are doing it, but I didn't have a personal experience with that. So that's probably another big contributor to my limiting belief.
Yeah. I'm noticing every time I talk to someone in real estate, their initial reason was obviously to make money, to become financially free. And once they get there, now they want more. And so what is your future right now? What is your hopes? And I want to hear from both of you.
Oh my goodness. Well, I don't know if I necessarily have a bigger financial goal.
I don't mean the financial. That's what I meant. Yeah. I meant more of helping others, doing more for society, doing more for others. That's really what I'm getting at.
So, well, I'm hoping that as our group continues to grow, because of the way we are cultivating the group to be more servant leaders and giving back, that more of them will understand the purpose of, yes, you want to provide a legacy and value for your family, but you want to reach outside your family because that's where the real legacy sets in. So trying to introduce some of the charities that we give to our audience is fun. In addition to trying to encourage people to get their children, whether it's teenagers or even adult children involved. Again, you can build an empire and give that empire over to your children. But if you haven't taught them how to continue to invest wisely and make those decisions, all that money is going to be gone. You look at a lot of the athletes or people who are left trust fund babies, right? If they don't know how to manage the money well, it's not going to last very long. So what kind of legacy have you really left?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. So I was going to mention kids because that's always been a big thing for me because I wish I would have been educated. If I knew this when I was a kid, I wouldn't have had to wait to my 40s to do this, right? And I could have taught other kids the same thing. So kids for sure. In fact, I think when we go into kids' school, which is I always thought was a cool idea to be able to talk about what you do at the kids' school. So And then they can ultimately decide maybe, you know, you're going to learn lessons no matter what the business is. They translate in other businesses too. They don't have to do real estate if they choose not to, but we want to be educated. And then the other one, which I would, you know, also say as far as giving back, that was one of the areas early on where I worked 90 plus hours a week doing IT. And Tammy was like, well, I want to give this, this, and this. And I'm not trying to do whatever. I'm thinking like, well, you're not the one out working for it. That's what I'm in my mind thinking, right? I'm working all these hours. I don't want to give all our money away and have like nothing for myself. So you never know based on that, and also your upbringing, not having much, how your heart's going to be as you start getting more money. So to be able to have me change to where like I actually want to help people, like really want to help people, especially if you can do it financially, great. If not, you can do time, but we can do some stuff financially now that we never could before. And so other people, whether they agree or are supportive of the, you know, the same charities, I just find something that you're passionate about. And if you ever get in a position where you do have the financial means to do it, do it. You know, you don't have to give, unless you're, you know, God tells you to, you don't have to give 100% all your money away. It doesn't mean you have to go live on the street. But reality is that a lot of us are in a position financially where we can change. We help start a couple orphanages. Our friends are in, you know, Philippines doing it right now. We're able to contribute a lot to help them start that, which is now there's like 15 kids there. That's life changing.
Wow. That's incredible.
You're giving my wife ideas now. I see, I see the dollar bill is just leaving right now. So that's great.
I love that. I love to hear stuff like that because that's, to me, what financial freedom is, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you have to do it with a giving heart, right? And if you would ask me 10 years ago, I would have said that I would not have a giving heart probably to do that. We always kind of gave to the church, stuff like that. But there's a big difference between doing that and then actually wanting to help other people.
Yeah.
So there's 3 words. It's abundance mindset, scarcity mindset, and it's sole purpose. So most of us have the scarcity mindset. We're growing up, we're in the rat race. There's not enough money. No matter how much money you make, the people that retire with $6 million in the bank, I've been taught to save their whole lives. They're going to live a really miserable life because they think that money is going to run out. And multifamily will allow us to continue to cash flow, to continue to have that. I think the abundance mindset is much, I mean, obviously it's more empowering, but very few people have that because they think once the money's there, it's gone and they're not going to get it back. So if you can live within that abundance mindset, and you know, whenever you do something for somebody, it's the go-giver principle. You're giving of yourself. It's going to come back to you. And if you do it without expecting anything, then it'll come back to you tenfold, right? That's just right. But it's hard for you to understand that when you're like gripped in that. I have the same pains that you did going to work and working weekly. This week it snowed. I didn't get paid. Why is she doing this? Why is she paying for this bill? I mean, like, you know, I mean, my kids make fun of me. Like I brought the dentist bill up. I got to see dentist bills. My kids are killing me.
They need braces all at the same time.
I grew up with great teeth, nothing wrong with my eyes. I got 6 kids, all with teeth, all with eyes. I mean, he's got a sense of humor. That's all I got to say. You know.
So same with me. I don't have any eye issues, and I never had braces either.
Same with me, dude. But I got whacked. So, and that's a hard place to be. Like you have to do that for your children, but you're afraid going. Everyone's telling you that. Oh, you have to save for your retirement. You have to save for their college. You have to save for when they get married. I'm like, how am I going to do all of this? And it's just like pull back and not worry about it. It will be there if you continue to build it. So that's a really hard lesson to really learn. So
it is. I was going to make a comment. I guess your teeth and eyes, you maybe can blame your wife because you never had the issue. So,
dude,
it's all on my side. Okay, I'm okay with it.
Where can people get a hold of you? I mean, they've got to get a hold of you guys. Where can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can follow us or check us out on our website at thinkmultifamily.com. They can also reach out to us personally at Tammy, TAMI, at thinkmultifamily.com or Mark, MARK, at thinkmultifamily.com.
Guys, any final words before we sign off?
No matter how difficult the road gets, remember that you guys need each other as couples because without you working together toward a goal, I think family is more important than any money that a business can bring. What good is the money that you're getting if you have nobody to share it with?
Yeah.
So remember, you are a team, and if one of you fail, you both fail. If one of you succeed, you both succeed. So work together.
And I would just say it's not easy. I mean, like you mentioned, Gino, earlier on too. Sometimes people look back and look at Gino, look at Jake. They're doing all these things. Well, it didn't happen overnight. We've been to the point where we wanted to quit earlier on, frankly.
Many times.
Yeah, many. Really, we have. So. End of the day, you're going to have to go through some pain, sacrifice some things potentially, and then also, you need to get off your butt.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't just sit back and expect it to happen. And it's okay if you do, but then don't expect things to happen if you're going to do that.
Yeah. It's so good to share our stories, especially if we're a couple and we're working together, because other people out there do need to know that we struggle, we get up, we start over, we succeed. And that's so important for people to know, because they do look at everyone and say, oh, they have it easy.
I love that.
Yeah.
I just want to thank everyone here for being part of the Jake and Gino family, and you sharing part of the day with us, and you guys sharing your story with us, being open and honest and letting us know that we're not the only ones who are screwing up. So that's a great thing. So, everyone go out there, visit Think Multifamily, and then do multifamily after you visit Thinking Multifamily. So once again, thanks, Scott.
Yeah,
thanks a lot for being on, guys.
You have a beautiful
No, thank
story.
you.
Yeah,
no,
thank
really
you
appreciate
much.
it, guys.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
Take
Thanks,
care,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.